Hello everyone. I would like to talk about something very interesting today. And I want you to visualize some form of rock collection. Not the ones that are in museums, but the one that you would personally go collect rocks. You see, I find a kid likes collecting rocks because he is choosing the value in the rock, and so it's meaningful. And as you look at the nature of collection and recollection, it is the constant shift of value from one spectrum to the next until an awareness is achieved beyond spectrum. Now, I want you to take this idea a bit further, and instead of just having a rock collection, visualize now you have a great idea collection. And what a great idea collection means is that you're not physically collecting things, but you are, in your readings, in your studies, in your pursuit of the info that is around you and the longing within you, you will see that just like valuable rocks that have no meaning until we choose them, we can also choose to take our own beautiful, unique view of an idea. And so I want you to think of an engineer's mind who observes something clearly to then build that which he finds required. So similarly, we want to observe things as they are, as clearly as possible as they are. And to do this clearly means we should not try to see. We should not try to seek. We should not try to do. These are not suggesting the realities we want. We want doing. We want action. And so, what is action? Usually action is driven by purpose. But now I am suggesting that human consciousness have self-reflectively and very gracefully reached a point where it is required to introduce to itself new methods of working with its subtler realms of being. In other words, this consciousness shift should increase your existential responsibility as an expression of life. So increase your awareness to the expressions of life. Once you have a great idea collection, you have in a sense observed vision. In other words, you hear the voice of other great men and you stand where they have by really trying to see exactly how they have seen and not letting it go until you're satisfied. You see, the beauty of the mind is that you are the originator of your reality and you are also the original awareness of it. So what that means is that even though there are others around you, the sense of immediate self holds an ability beyond its incapability. Because first there needs to be a definition of ability to then have an incapability of that ability. But once you see that the abilities that you have are not defined, in other words, you're not just a painter, you're not just a, scientist or artist or poet or whatever you like, whatever field you want to see. But you will see that it comes time to recognize that all these leaps, we are treating knowledge like a weak branch of a tree. And so we are on the edge. We feel it's something to hold, something to maintain, something to take, something to have. And there is much more that can be said, but does not need to. When you recognize that the roots of the tree are held by a sense of knowing beyond the branch of knowledge you think you can have. The reason you feel you can have things is because the mind of man, in a very self-conscious way, has created a shape to consider other shapes. And so the awareness of the unshaped is in a sense the stopping of the movement that is keep on giving you the same effect, let's say, the same result. And you will see that once you begin collecting great ideas, once you put this intention and awareness for you that you don't just want good people and friends and family around you, you also want great ideas around you, gently speak and see the gentleness that speaks back. Compassionately speak and feel the compassion that speaks back. Right now, the greatest step that each one of us can do is to authentically allow our existential expression to simply be present. So in other words, to maintain higher states of being, you don't need to, in a sense, read upon too much. You just need to have a sense of awareness and sensitivity to the conception of your realities and their origination to discover that the sight is always beyond what is seen. And so you will see that great ideas will come, and it will be as if you are walking beside all the men who conceived those ideas, all the men who could see the values in such a collection, such a collective existence. The reason it is very important to talk about these is that I see that the human being is very able, but based on some decisions in the past and how society is in a sense positioned today, it's considering too much incapability. In other words, the ratio of your incapability should not be more than the ratio of your capability. And if it is, that means your attention is going there too much. Immediately increase your attention to the things that you know you can do. For example, you know how to walk, right? Where else do you have this knowing of ability? And sometimes the knowing of ability does not mean that it's clear. Sometimes the knowing is there, but there is no shape because you need to go through the experience. In other words, if you know you are to be someone that is a traveler into great moments of existence, you must see that reconsideration at times might mean never having considered the possibility. You attain through your travels very executively when you really see that moment when you're looking out the bus, there are more things moving than cars and the ideas of cars, and just the observance of all the separation that creates all the difficulty by defining the difficulty. To have a unified awareness means to become aware of creation through co-creation, and to, in a sense, perceive what the concept of infinity and eternity and, in a sense, an unshaped truth means to you. Some people have called it by many names. Some have even called it Tao. However, regardless of the imagery, where is the value beyond the image? How can one see beyond the image? Is man a gift unopened? Could it be possible that you, not clearly paying attention to yourself, are not utilizing your full potential, your ability to perceive beyond the limited perceptions of right now? Because I've noticed that the times that I've felt limited in my life is because the imagery was accepted to be limited. And I always wondered what made all these leaders great that I would hear as I was growing up, regardless whether it's in whatever conceptual basis, regardless if it's religious or scientific. You see that it is very important to observe the nature of your vision. Because if you do not observe the nature of your vision, you will feel that what you are looking at is you, rather than the deep gaze that you are. In other words, do not believe that you are the reflection in the mirror, because there is a possibility for an experience into the unknown, which develops into a greater knowing. In other words, the shape of your reality is based on how you have been molded to receive reality. However, we each recognize that we all have bubbles of presence, and when these bubbles come together, we see at times there may be a burst, but at times there may be a greater collective understanding as well. In other words, many people see that man is making mistakes right now. Many people are accepting, we're not running the planet well, let me at least run my life well. Many people think in this way. There are many fabrics of reality for different types of projects or projections, The truth can be realized in infinite ways once you recognize there was no truth. So, don't think that you are in an area or in a moment in your life where you are incapable to get to know yourself on deeper levels of self-understanding and self-awareness. You can. There are methodologies, but these methodologies do not really require you acting things that are not real to you. In other words, if you are a person in the city and you, let's say, do not have, the same traditional attitude as, let's say, Tibetan monks, or how their ceremonies and practices are, it doesn't mean you have to go do what they do to understand it. It simply means you need to observe why they are doing it, to then recognize that where you are is where you can do anything. There is no end when creation starts now. And so you will see many ways of approach. And many people will also see that you have approached who you are, that concept, that part of the forest many times, but you have not completely gone in there. Perhaps there might be a fear of a tiger, but do not fear the tiger. For man has a different roar. We might not have the roar of a tiger, but man has the roar of his presence. A roar that cannot be ignored. In other words, when a human being truly knows himself, ideas do not create structure in your mind, but are omnipresent to be co-created in any way your emotional senses flow based on subtler winds, in subtler winds of your co-creation. To continue, collect great ideas to recognize that the way you're actually becoming aware of them is beyond idea. So you might think that you've been only learning in one type of way, but trust me, begin acknowledging yourself and you will open dimensions in how your thoughts are positioned based on your immediate conception of bringing imagery to a point of existence, to a plane of being. We take the concept of physical birth very seriously, but the birth of ideas has just been taken very, it's not important because we can't see it, Do you know how many people have brilliant ideas which go uncommunicated because they are not putting the effort to communicate it? Do you know most of your problems require an inspired effort, an authentic effort to in an instant change in flow and dynamic? You are the answer to all that you question. And so ideas will surround you in ways where you are always in a very instant speed elevate to greater understanding. If you're a person who is interested in wisdom and self-understanding and self-awareness, I recommend one thing that will immediately, and in a sense very interestingly and politically, catalyze you. And what that is begin reading quotes. Begin searching and reading quotes. The internet is actually filled with very meaningful quotes, you know? And when you read these quotes, don't just read them, look at who said it and go observe that guy's life. Do a bit of intensive, research into the guy's life and see how he came to this understanding. And perhaps you can become a glance in which that quote originated from. You can get to that seat where that man stood to speak in such a way. And you're never sure, but you don't care because there is no comparison when one is observing self. Because one recognizes that who you are is a continuation beyond image, beyond form, but your knowing is infinite parallel, I don't want to really say parallel, but infinite layers of reality as well. So what that means is that if man learns to ride his ideas and learns to work with a subtler plane of thought, he can find vehicles in very interesting and I want to say geometric, but it is not a geometric understanding. So the way we understand geometry is actually not how the shape is received, because your vision is different of the shape, and that vision is a different access into how you are to be expressed. And so simply what I can say is that our inspiration is collective, our action is individual. And what that means is that the fruits of your life appear when you begin to observe the seeds that you have planted, the virtuous seeds. In other words, many people recognize karma when something bad happens, but when something good happens, you need to also be aware of it, because how you approach the concept of karma, in other words, how you are observing the action of the life forms that you perceive, will suggest how on some other subtler plane of passage you are creating your doorway. But a doorway, once very observantly perceived, does not need to be a limitation. We are alive at the most exciting time. You who are alive are a human being. You are what every other human being wondered about. But as they have faded, they could not see it, but they could know it in a sense, So recognize that it is up to us to reveal the treasures within our mountains of excitement and wonder. Do not limit your understanding to certain attitudes. I have seen many people waste, not time, but waste the amount of reception they could have had in the moment by feeling an attitude was a better solution than to, let's say, doing the thing. And when I say attitude, I kind of mean as if instead of me trying to look at something clearly, I just have a certain thing I say about it, but I don't really look at it. What that means is that some people want to be treasure revealers, but they don't recognize that true revelation is something that needs to be treasured. And so if you do not treasure the existence that is even searching for it, how are you supposed to find it? As great ideas walk with you, you shall remember yourself in the eyes of many omnipresent calibers. I feel I want to say that. Now, let knowledge come to you, and how you can do that very well is by seeing that you just maintain a very gentle and compassionate and honest lifestyle. And in a sense, discover the values and very authentically be compassionate, and do this for a couple months, and don't even think about how long you're doing it. Just begin doing it and just see what happens. You will see your life turn around when you align yourself with your true knowing. And so, great ideas who are walking by you will begin speaking to you as if they want you to even carry the idea further. In other words, visualize the idea of freedom walking beside you in some form, and so asking you to free it from whatever idea, image of freedom we have. Existential sensitivity brings your sight into the present you are rooted in. Enjoy your collection of great ideas, because you will see your approach to how others have approached greatness will, in a sense, open your eyes to aspects of yourself that will fascinate you. You will be self-fascinated, and you will see that your inspiration begins turning into immediate action. It's as if you've just remembered the appointment you have. You've just remembered why you're standing here. And so it's not shaped, but it's an intuitive knowing that is just present with the flow. In other words, the drop finds the river again and begins to flow to where it knows. And so as the drops merge and the streams flow into greater rivers, there's more of an understanding of direction, more of an understanding of flow, more an understanding of self-allowance, existential allowance, and all this expansion into our greater vision, greater existential vision. Do not give an appearance to disappearance. And you shall see that the beauty of the greatest knowing of man was one that was always looking into the eyes of the unknown. Much blessing and namaste.